explanations, if you could just do like a side-by-side comparison,
Mm.
how would you identify the key differences between post-Keynesian, neoclassical, Austrian, and a Marxist?
Let's talk about the neoclassicals first of all, because they're the dominant school. The essential difference there is the belief that equilibrium is blither, to quote Keynes. Neoclassicals believe you've got to model the economy as an equilibrium system. And in fact, I saw a paper yesterday coming out from Pyle, one of the centers of orthodox thought in America, where the guy said we need at least 5 types of models. And then his opening paragraph said, I'm going to restrict myself to general equilibrium models. And my little comment back was, we haven't even considered general dynamic. So they forced this equilibrium assumption on the economy as if that's what capitalism does. And in that sense, the Austrians are at least superior because they see the main benefit of capitalism being a non-equilibrium system. So from a post-Keynesian point of view, I see the essential difference is saying it's not an equilibrium system. Now, that's not to say that all post-Keynesians work on non-equilibrium systems. A lot of them do still use equilibrium. But to me, the defining difference in analysis is saying we have to analyse capitalism as a system of general dynamics, not one of general equilibrium. That's number one.
Yep.
Neoclassicals also have come. This is one thing that stuns people when they actually realise that they come from outside the economics profession. People think economists are experts on money because that's what the capitalism is about. But neoclassical theory convinced itself way back, and we're talking right back at the time of Jean-Baptiste Say, who was probably the proto-neoclassical back in the 1810s and 1820s, that money doesn't matter.
Yep.
Money is just a veil over barter. So they treat capitalism as a barter system, which money plays no essential role. And there's a whole sequence of papers where the neoclassicals struggle to explain why money exists. And generally speaking, all the stuff which is monetary aspects of models that they generate, the monetary data they will give politicians to look at are outcomes of what they see as a barter system. Therefore, the pricing system will come out of that. So there's no consideration of money. And to me, and to the post-Keynesian school in general, capitalism is fundamentally a monetary system. If you don't understand money, you don't understand capitalism. So if you have a theory that leaves money out, you're talking about an interesting social system that doesn't exist, and not talking about capitalism. So it has to be monetary analysis. That's absolutely essential.
Yep.
And then a third defining difference is that one thing which makes money essential, and also which is an essential aspect of the innovative nature of capitalism, the future's uncertain. One of my favourite lines is from a Doors song. I'm sure people don't know it these days, but the future's uncertain and the end is always near. And neoclassicals on the other side say the future can be predicted by rational agents, and what they define as rational behaviour is the capacity to accurately predict the future. This is sheer damn nonsense, and it's actually a failing of their own theories, because if their theories had worked, their theories that say the market reaches these outcomes even given the fact that people can't predict the future. But instead, because the models didn't reach the results they want, they assume the ordinary person can predict the future, in which case, why do you need markets?
Yeah.
So it's ironic, but that's the situation they got themselves into. So those are the defining differences. Non-equilibrium, the reality of the world being out of equilibrium all the time, has to be monetary, and uncertainty about the future is the fundamental aspect of reality. Those are the defining differences. For Austrians, it comes down again to they have a utility-based theory of what capitalism is about. They share the idea that capitalism is effectively a non-design system in their case that actually exists to maximise people's utility. And to me, I think that's a teleological view of capitalism. They have an evolutionary foundation, which I support, but a lot of their work ends up being based on this idea of it being a utility. Basically, it's an ideology, saying that capitalism is the best possible way to improve people's overall utility over time. And I think as a foundation for analysing the actual monetary dynamics and production dynamics of capitalism, it's starting at the wrong point. I have a lot of sympathy for some aspects of Austrian critiques, but I find their stuff on value, the stuff on what the philosophy of economics should be, and their understanding of money as well is quite wrong. And then on the Marxian front, the Marxists don't understand Marx. My first thesis was on Marx's theory of value, but rather than trying to solve what's called the transformation problem, how do you convert values into prices, Marx actually contradicted the labour theory of value using his own philosophy. And it actually was an argument, when that was actually properly applied, the basis that Marx saw as the reason why we'd go from capitalism to socialism fell apart, because that was based on the idea of the tendency for the rate of profit to fall. that was based on labour being the only source of value and therefore profit. But if labour wasn't the only source of value and therefore profit, there's no necessity for socialism. And Marx, when he first derived this philosophical explanation, which contradicted the labour theory of value back in 1857, you can clearly see him caught in this quandary. Oh my God, I've suddenly undermined my own arguments about the necessity for socialism. How do I bring them back again? And he managed to fool himself with an argument that made this philosophical thing look like it was consistent with the labour theory of value. And that was so confusing, most people just swallowed the labour theory of value and went on and ignored these philosophical advances. I said, if you get those advances right, there is no tendency for the rate of profit to fall. Labour is not the only source of profit. Socialism is not a good idea in the strict Marxian sense of the word. Certainly the Soviet Union embodiment of that. So that's why I reject that whole basis. But at the same time, I say if you go back to Marxist philosophy, you get a very sound basis for analysing actual capitalism.
Yep. Yeah.